Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the way that some senior Tories in the media and the parliamentary party seem to feel the need to tie themselves to Donald Trump. Despite the fact it makes no sense strategically. Is it because they really do approve of him? In which case, why are the Tories allowing themselves to be led by people out of touch with their own target voters? Or is there something else behind their support for the orange one? I mean, I suppose the first point to address would be the simple political alliances. So in the UK, the Labour Party has a close relationship with the Democrat Party, and the Conservatives tend to align more with the Republican Party. It's also the case that both parties want a close relationship with the White House, regardless of who occupies it. So in general, the idea that senior Conservatives would sound supportive noises towards the Republican candidate for the US presidency, that's nothing remarkable. But there is a comparison to be made when you talk about Labour. Like, as we were heading towards the election, people in Labour, David Lammy, Keir Starmer, were asked about, what happens if Trump became president again? Would you be able to work with them? And they were saying yes. They were saying absolutely. So these are some of the differences. Like, first of all, many of the same Tories who are openly supportive of Trump have been equally openly hostile towards Joe Biden. Now, you can well believe that privately Conservative leaders would rather the Republicans were in power in America, just like Labour politicians would privately prefer that the Democrats were in power. But that need to have a close relationship with the US surely means you shouldn't openly attack the other side when you are in power yourself. The Tories are openly attacking the Democrats, really, in quite strong terms. And it's something that's especially true when the Democrat is actually the president at the same time as they're in power, because the senior Tories were attacking Biden while they were in government. So it's probably fair to say that whatever attitude the Tories had to international diplomacy has ceased to exist now. They're making no serious effort to build bridges with the American government, unless that government happens to be, I wouldn't even say Republican, specifically MAGA Trump. But Trump isn't popular in the UK. A few months ago, when it looked like Trump was most likely to win the presidency again, a poll was conducted to ask people in this country, how important is it to have for this country to have a good relationship specifically with Trump? Now, it should have been a no-brainer. Of course, we want a good relationship with anyone who is or might soon be US president, right? Yet the results were very split. 43% thought it was important, 42% thought it's not at all important. That so much of the population could think that it's not important to have a good relationship with the man who, at the time, looked like becoming the next US president for another 4 years. That seemed mad. Shortly after leaving office, 12% of us thought he'd made a poor president. 66% thought he made a terrible president. Now, against this, 8% thought he'd been a good president. Only 3% a great president. So that's 78% of us who thought, just a couple of months after he left office, who thought he was a failure as president. 78% of us thought he was a failure, to just 11% thought, no, he did all right. Even amongst Conservative voters, the disapproval was overwhelming. And Conservatives have regularly been in conflict with the Madloon, like earlier this month. So the Telegraph were once again going, there's all these these senior members of the Labour government have criticised Trump in the past. I'm pretty sure if they dug deep enough, they'd find all of them have at some point, right? But they're trying to suggest, you can't have Labour in government because they've criticised someone who might be US president. Which is nonsense for multiple reasons. First, Boris Johnson famously attacked Trump while he was Mayor of London. And Trump was having a pop at the metropolis for having these no-go areas. Johnson even said Trump was out of his mind. Didn't stop Johnson having a close relationship with Trump when they each headed their respective governments, did it? Second, Trump isn't president. Right now, he's not even favourite to become president again. So why is it a problem that Labour figures have criticised Trump in the past? But not that senior Tories are right now attacking the actual US president, as well as the person who is slight favourite to become the next US president. And third, a close ally of Trump said earlier this year that he'd rather work with a Labour government than the Tories. Now, that was mostly down to the way in which David Cameron blundered his way through an American visit and rubbed a load of politicians up the wrong way, whereas David Lammy has good relationships with Democrats and Republicans alike in Capitol Hill. But why are senior Conservatives so keen to fawn at the feet of Trump? Like, part of me was thinking, is it because they feel the need to, like, butter him up so that if they get to form a government and he's president at the time, they've got that instant in? It's like, no, because they don't really know. He won't really know who they are, and he won't really care at the moment. And also, history shows you can actually criticise him one day and still be like his favourite person to work with the next. Trump was very happy to work with Boris Johnson because at the time he was working with him, Boris Johnson was quite happy to flatter him. It didn't matter that a few years ago, Boris Johnson had said he was out of his mind. Also, in terms of timing, if Trump wins the presidency this autumn, then he'd be out of power by the time the Tories get another crack at forming a government again, assuming that the Parliament runs for the full length. Now, I know Trump plans on making sure he remains in power for considerably longer than 4 years, right? Although I'm not actually sure he'll last. He had his promise to supporters, oh, just vote for me this time, you won't need to vote for me again, right? Project 2025 and all that. But the Tories can't actually work on that basis. They'll have to work on the assumption that whoever is president from next January is only guaranteed to remain so until the following January. And if it's Trump, that would be it. That would be his second term. At which point, unless Labour have called an early election, the Tories still won't have been in government again. So it doesn't actually make sense to support Trump because they're not going to get to work with him. There's no strategic reason for the Tories to openly be backing Trump as they are doing. It's out of step with normal diplomatic behaviour. It actively makes it harder for them to form a relationship with the most likely American government. And it doesn't even help them win votes here in the UK. So why are they doing it? Now, if I were to speculate, I would guess at a couple of potential factors here. The first is that if you look at the people in this country who might vote Conservative and do approve of Trump, who are you talking about? Because the MAGA equivalent in the UK are those people who switched from the Tories to Reform UK. These are the voters that the Tories were trying to chase after ahead of the election, to the exclusion of all others, which is why they lost so badly. It was a really bad idea. Now, you would think maybe they'd have learned their lesson and realised they actually should be focusing on voters around the centre ground. However, there is a good chance that the senior Tories backing Trump are not good at learning lessons. It's a sign that perhaps the Conservatives are going to continue to pursue positions that help them try and win back those Reform UK voters, which is much harder to do than moderate in pursuit of voters in the centre. Second possibility is maybe it's the old Brexit fallacy. Like, why did the Tories back Brexit? Why did they back such a hard Brexit? It's not because they thought it was a good idea for most of them. It certainly wasn't because of the referendum result. It was a fear of letting the party look divided. Because those who did support Brexit and did support the hard Brexit were the extremists amongst their numbers. The raging nutters, the swivel-eyed loons. The Brexiteers would have thought nothing of triggering a damaging civil war within the party over the issue, so the rest of them pursued a policy of appeasement, out of fear for what disunity would do to their election chances. They just appeased them. It's possible that the same thinking's at play here, because those who do back Trump's distinctive blend of hate and authoritarianism are those same extremists within the Conservative Party, and perhaps the rest don't feel that it's a battle worth having. Especially as support for Trump and attacks on Biden, they're not helping them. But maybe they feel they don't do as much harm in opposition anyway. So despite the record defeat for the Tories, maybe they're going to continue on a path of chasing the wrong voters and appeasing the nutters in their midst, just as they've been doing for a decade now. Maybe that's what their baffling support for Trump shows. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.